It's all good. The question: are we running the audio from the Zoom into the speakers, or is it just coming out the TV? Okay. All right, Kamari, talk a little bit more.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I do hear it a little bit. Talk again, Kamari.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. All right. All right. Give it up
Octopus
for Karo
lady coming
Ska, an
in.
employee of CLI, earning her money tonight. All right, so I'm gonna turn it over to you, Camari Carter-Hawkins. Go ahead.
Wow. Hi, everyone. I can't see you, but I'm sure. Oh, I see myself. I'm in the Matrix. That is. Okay. Technology. All right, here we go. So grateful to be. Oh, there's everyone. Hi. That is so cool. So funny. Yeah, I remember Hiram, me telling him that I felt like the octopus lady, and I like dramatically enacted this like wiggly arm thing, but I was actually distressed and I was on the verge of tears. So it's funny now, but I'm so proud of how far CLI has come, and I am just grateful to see the evolution of it. And I just wish it all the best forever and ever and ever. Amen. So I will not be before you long. I have one poem for you. I will share with you. Yeah, 40 people is awesome. This poem is entitled Poets Save My Life. What happens when all your friends are poets? Every conversation is a prayer. We speak what we want in similes, write wishful words on paper, insist you do the same. We have our own language, speak in tongues, metaphor my dreams to life. When I lost my baby, it was poets who rescued me, dripped poems from their mouths, sonnet my sadness to sunshine, sat, held my hand, lamented with me, lyricked love back in my womb. When I witnessed my grandmother, my best friend, gasp for her last breath, when death trauma licked my ears at night, when PTSD riddled me anxious and unrecognizable, it was the poets who orbited and wrote me odes, reminded me of why I was needed here on this side of life. Poets fed me red beans and rhyme, banana pudding and ballads, spaghetti and elegies. Poets showed up to my house when it was unclean, when birds made a home in my hair, when my eyes took proxy for my mouth. Poets are the only people I know who ain't afraid of the dark. They make peace with it. They bring other poets along on a search party, find you, sit with you. Who else do that? I think it's therapists who need poets on payroll. Poets epigrammed my heart back to life every time. Thank you.
Kamari, we definitely gonna have to give you a raise after that poem. You
Yes.
earned it. You earned it. Joining us from Austin, Texas. I think that's incredible. All right, thank you. And actually, everybody's doing two poems. So if you want to do another one, you can. But if you don't, I can go to the next person on the list. What do you want?
Let's just go to the next person. I feel complete.
Got
I
it.
feel
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kamari.
Thank you.
All right. Give it up for Kamari Carter-Hawkins, joining us from Austin, Texas. All right. So the next poet that I want to call up to the mic, I call him my brother from another Hispanic mother, because I met him at Compton College. I was teaching a film class, and during mood check, I asked who wants, like tell me about your dream job. And at the time I was an adjunct professor. I said I wanted to be a poetry professor. And he said, when it got to him, he was like, yeah, that's my dream too, to be a poetry professor. And then we talked after class, and he took out this book that had like 200 poems in it. And so later on, we worked together. He published his first book called Catch Up, Sopa de Gato, A Word is Worth 1,000 Pictures. And so his was the first book, to come by way of CLI before CLI even existed as a class. So please put your hands together for Carlos Ornelas, the current press manager for World Stage Press.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello. My style has a style of its own. Violin and cello concertos from Rome. Underground rap instrumental mementos, Marlboro menthos, pints of Merlot. My style has a style of its own. Sylvia, Virginia, Maya, and Zora. Gertrude, Selena, Xochitl, and Dora. Anna, Joanna, Wendy, Simone. Sade, Alicia, Rocio, Bjork. It's not me who has acted alone. My style has a style of its own. Initial and belt buckle, black cotton chrome. Picasso's approach, Da Vinci's brush strokes. Chacas aerosol spray can control. Soledad Tacas, Delano Placazos, graffiti in brothels and Carl's Jr. restrooms. Freehand insignia, street gang regalia. Tupac and Williams, Shakurian, Shakespearean. Irvin Johnson, magician, Gretzky Banksy edition. New America's Dependence. Wetback Witnesses, Jehovah's Home. My style has a style of its own. Smith & Wesson, Glocks and Colts, Nuts and Bolts, Shocks and Volts, Peace and Harmonies, Revolts. Faders, Buttons and Remotes, Pink Floyd, Doors, Ramones and Stones, Guns and Roses, Broken Bones, Broken Hearts and Broken Homes. Broken Promises galore, like the ship became couture. My style has a style of its own. Thank you. This. How you good? Our heroes have failed us. If our gods worked for the government, instead of prayers, we would submit petitions for heavens to help us. God would have created the world in 7 business days. Every 4 millennia, humanity would elect its new Lord and Savior. People would hold signs that say, Catholics for Christ, Muhammad for vice, choose Jesus, Allah can't lose. We are the welfare children of Captain America, adopted by Dr. Doom. Our heroes have failed us. They've taken the credit for crosses that nailed us. They act as if patriots just to befriend us. Then they enslave us, sell us, or shelve us. If our gods worked for the government, heaven would allow only national citizens. All others considered illegal spirits. Guardian angels, national guards, label our world as a paradise lost. Instead of gods and guns, we would trust and wear an M16 instead of a cross. If our gods worked for the government, every tax season would be an apocalypse. Instead of St. Peter, George Stephanopoulos. Monica Lewinsky, the new Mary Magdalene. Abortions instead of conceptions, immaculate. If our gods worked for the government, committing sins would lead to fines and up to 2 years in purgatory. And if you wanted to repent, you would need to hire a patron saint to plead in our defense. If our gods worked for the government, a miracle is something only the rich could afford. And for the sick and the poor, government assistance such as food stamps, healthcare, and welfare would be replaced by prayer. And all things biased would finally be fair. But in reality, our governments don't work because God does not work for the government. May heaven help us. Our heroes have failed us.
All right. Press manager of World Stage Press, Carlos Ornelas. All right. Next up, I want to call up someone I work very closely with, and she actually came by recommendation of Camari, and she currently holds down the position of manager of all 8 publishing classes. And she has a big job, and when all the students complain, I just forward it right to her. I'm like, please put your hands together for Eboni Echols coming up to the microphone.
It's God's love that is love, making me to be the best me. Molds me like clay, air breathed in my lungs, mapping my life, Jesus Christ, like a cool breeze. Jesus, you are my heartbeat, forming a love in me that's never ending, eternal. Signs, your daughter. All right. This is awesome. I just want to say something real quick. I know everybody else is like, oh, get your poems, but working here has truly been an inspiration. I went through like a lot last year, and being here and being around everybody, like even talking to Carlos, like I love Carlos, and it has just been truly inspiring me. And I actually wrote a new poem, so it's kind of like a part of my testimony and what I've been through. I know I just briefly talked about the love of God. Most of the time, I always implement God in my poems because that's what kept me. But this one, I'm talking about my fear of loving, like as far as in a relationship. So I pray that even though it's some scary parts in it, that it be encouraging to you somehow. I'm scared to love you. My heart is scarred with stitches in it, hanging on life support. One more break and it might just be damaged forever. Might not even make it. Not even surgery could repair the damage of its arteries. Fragile, beautiful soul tainted by non so beautiful souls. Whispers, literally sweet nothings to my heart that penetrated to my ears. I'm scared to love you. I mean, really love you. Nowadays, what is love, anyways? Its true purpose amongst two people has seemed to really lose its identity. I'm scared to love you. I'm always trying to find any excuse to break it off, any opportunity to not stay because I'm scared to love you. It's easier to just cut it off, move on before you break my heart because that's the normal, seems like, at least for me. Love has been like a splinter that's painful yet hard to get the residue out. You need a whole needle, alcohol, and lighter just to remove it completely from where it punctured through your skin. The residue of the not so feel good part entered my heart and left its speck of share of splinters. No warmth, just ice cold winters. Love for me has been a stumping of your baby toe on the corner of your bed. Unexpected pain that shoots up your foot and lingers. A possible jam you would think are fracture. Shoot, it might even be broken that it hurts so bad for days. If I could, I would want to love you with all of me. I would want to be vulnerable. I would want to be open. I would want to encourage you, uplift, inspire, and be that safe place for you as I want you to be for me. Share dreams and visions. Lay on your chest, feeling your heartbeat as you stroke my head gently, breathing you in deeply, desiring the rhythms of our hearts to sink, writing you poetry of my devout, sincere, undying, naive love on sheets of paper that will never be seen. Better yet, in my head, dancing on a field of flowers. Oh, I'm definitely a hopeless romantic. Romeo, oh Romeo, wherefore in the heck art thou? Man, but I'm so scared to love you anyhow. So I've stopped being hopeful of love's possibilities. I'm scared because I have so many uncertainties, questions that I just can't figure out the answers to. I'm imagining that you might be scared too. Love for me has been health scared at clinics getting tested for STDs because your husband decided to cheat, giving birth to twins without their father there to witness their beauty of growing to 4 years old to this very day. And my twin daughter always asking me when will her dad come to pick her up to visit. And me with that silent metaphor of mommy changing the subject because I'm faced with the reality every day. The reality of no time soon, baby girl. Love for me has been a punch in the face with the black eye. emerged on and going cycle of back and forth before I finally decided to call it quits. Nervous breakdowns, aka manic depression, postpartum depression, psychoaffective psychosis, bipolar. How many diagnoses before one can discover that love caused me to house unwanted demons? Because the hurt was so detrimental that it pierced not only my heart, but my soul. Oh, I'm scared to love you. But my question for you is, if you could really give me all of you, what would that feel like? Would our love synchronize in unison, that it outweighs our fears of being scared, giving each other what we truly need and were created for is in the beginning of the creation of Adam and Eve before the fall? If it was within my control and ultimately I could choose, I would love with all that I could. The kind of love that would drive even the thought of me being scared away. But if that love is not returned, then I have every reason to be scared to love you. It would be too risky for my heart. It would be too risky for my soul. So I'm letting go and choosing to let God love on me as my heart and soul are delivered from the false narrative of love or the perception of what I assumed it to be. I'm not stating my story or experience of being scared to love for your sympathy. I'm sharing so you can see my transparency. Because honestly, I'm believing and trusting that God is healing me. I have had my share of trials. I've had my share of struggles, even along my journey with God. But in the midst, I will still choose to believe, believing and hoping that one day I will no longer be scared to love you, believing that my heart will be 100% healed with God's true meaning of love, the love that He has for me. As Abba Father goes in my inner being and performs surgery, just as He wove me together in my mama's womb perfectly with His healing love, eliminating my fears to love you. I only want the love that He is in. It's the only love that gives liberty. It's the only love that gives peace.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ebony. I like the line. Romeo, Romeo, where the heck art thou? Dope line. Dope line. I just want to say, I was just listening to you do your poem, and I was like, man, CLI has come so far. You know, as far as just like being legit. You know, like like people do stuff for CLI and they be like, "Hey, Harm, so that's $200," and I'd be like, "All right, meet me at the Chevron on, and I'll go to the ATM and then get the Reese's peanut butter cups and then like pay you, right? With 2020, we talk about like W-9s now. We're talking about like pay stubs. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So this next poet that I want to call up to the mic, one of the things that I find powerful is when people like start doing a type of work before they actually get a job doing that work. And so this person was actually like recruiting students for CLI years before he had a job as the admissions representative for CLI. And I know that since he has been working here, he has helped us to recruit well over 100 students, in the CLI program. So I'm very grateful for the work that he does. Please put your hands together for Kuahmel Allah, the admissions representative for CLI.
That praise he heaped on me, bear in mind he gave me a whooping the other day. You deserved one, I'll give you in return. Keep that in mind. And Hiram deserved one too. I got one for everybody. Come get me. All right. Concentrate on the funk vibe. Tap the veins needles can't. The rivers that cover the million scale square miles throughout your physical network. Are you high yet? Can you fly, Bobby? Every little step you take, you levitate. Quantum leap now. Do not sleep now. The dream is just getting creamier. Concentrate on the funk vibe. Feel so alive. Energies you never leveraged, the kind not hatched by gas or beverage. Let them ripple, let them vibrate, and open up every internal gate. Pop all them cherries, strike all them hymens, and be a virgin no more. Feel limitless yet? Have you stretched to your most fantastic? Are you now ready to alter your coming reality? It's waiting on you to make the first move. You now know all the algorithms. You now have complete creative control. Concentrate on the funk vibe. Before I get into this next one, you not have to hold the mic when it's on the stand. The stand holds the mic for you. And now, for our feature presentation. This one is called Glad We Are Tribe. All right. Get on this ride with me, y'all. At a time I should have been caressed and the rest I needed, I decided I needed to reflect. I take this word, thought picture of the family I managed to build, not from loin erections, but other important connections, people between which are exchanged mutual guidance and protection, plus great joy I employ by paying forward to new human family I make. Same human family I made walking amongst the wildflowers, made suffering near death by comb that can't run through mind kinks, made stomping on the black box to improvise flash fight at a new height, made out here dishing out bear hugs to mutual honey friends, made in garages in Latino parts of town, made knocking down pancakes, pushing pins and peering into souls, made mad true after long trips that made for hot tires, made with Northeast accented blackstresses and rap royals organizing words that confused me for a bit, made stronger with brethren who were partners in lessons I studied thick and quick, then understood later as teachers and creators, made with youth whose attention I had, whose progression I'm glad to be partially responsible for. The same human family I made in winter, la with like carols for months to come after, and with in nightclub restrooms for many chapters. The same human family who's fed me spiritual food, sketched new worlds of chaos, and considered things I opted not to do but show should. The same human family I got through police encounters with, wrenched on cars with, learned to tackle it all one day at a time with. The prime knowledge, prime wisdom, prime understanding I gained all remains. I share with all who are here and all who come next. As this artist adventure continues, maybe you'll listen when I tell you stuff. Maybe the youth, maybe the elder, maybe the love interest, maybe the business interest, maybe the peer, maybe the fan. Maybe you'll make future alongside me as a tribe mind expands. Boom. Okay. Before I pass it back to your host, I got them things, that piece in the pocket, that lovely, lovely rag that you need to get on World Stage Press. Get it from me tonight. I got that cash out. I got that Venmo. I take that cash in my pocket though. So come get that. Come get that. Come get that. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, @Kuahmel, Kuahmel. I love talking to the people. Pan-African Film Festival Spoken Word Showcase, Sunday, April 24th, 7 p.m. Please come through. People like me need people like you there. Let's go.
I don't know if you guys know, but Kuahmel has a book for sale. It's called Peace in the Pocket on worldstagepress.org. I like that. Tell people about it. All right. So the next poet slash employee that I want to call up to the mic, she's here holding it down, making sure that all these amazing programs happen. She makes sure that, that we have everything that we need. She keeps us all in check. I call her boss lady. and she makes sure we got, Cocoa Puffs in the kitchen. And it's like she definitely runs this place, and I have just a huge amount of confidence in her, because she holds it down. So without further ado, please give it up for the library manager of the Sims Library of Poetry, Karo Ska.
Bengali ancestors, I call on you. Find you swimming in the rivers of my bones, your spirit's wisdom bathing in my marrow. I am the West Bengal Muslim migrating after the 1947 partition of India. I am the Mukti Bahini fighting in the 1971 war for liberation. I am the rickshaw my grandmother pulled, rescuing Hindi girls from a war not of their making. I am the lost languages, the lost recipes across European dictated borders. I am the bird flying over barbed wire, the smuggled cow lifted by a crane across the fence. I am a refugee craving a spot to call home. I am the August floods, the monsoon rains, the Delta silt. Bengali ancestors, what words can you gift me to deepen the magic of your heritage? America's falsified promises rage against the peninsulas of my lungs, sneaking a flag into my heart. I pull it out, shred it, burn it. No flags will take root in my body. I am made of people, not nationalities. Ancestors, we looked at the same sky, conversed with the same moon. Now I dream with you. I dream of a world breathing free without shackles, chains, and police knees. Ancestors, you conjured my body into being, protected me, held me when no one else did. In your eyes, the ones I see reflected in the mirror, I see a future not yet ready, waiting to be born, and I hope I'm making your dreams come true. Thank you. So, reading a poem with like no introduction is something I learned from CLI. And I think it's actually something really hard to do because I always want to come up here and then blab for because I'm nervous. But I've been doing this thing where I'm going to go up here and just read the poem and then talk. And I feel like that actually makes your performance like way more powerful for whatever reason. And I see other poets doing it. So I thank CLI and Hiram for teaching me that. I'm glad to be here doing this show, Poets on Payroll. I think me and Hiram were like talking about like just different shows that we could do. And I think this was after we had like a staff appreciation dinner, and then I think Hiram was like, yeah, we should do like feature like some of the poets that like are employees, and then Poets on Payroll, like the theme came up, and then and this was like in December, and here we are like 4 months later, and I was like, you know what, April is like the perfect month to do this because we're staff, but we're also poets, and I feel like sometimes like people like will forget that, I'm like the library manager, and people are like, oh, you're a poet also. I'm like, yeah, yes, I'm definitely a poet too. I'm a poet first, I think. Not that I'm not also. I love being the library manager here too, but poetry is my love. And I'm just really grateful for everything that CLI has taught me, and just the community that has grown out of here. So this next poem is an ode to my Saturday church. Season 8, Tommy and Ravina are in the house. And so I wrote this during CLI, one of my dedication poems. Okay. Rolling out of bed on a Saturday morning to a Zoom room of faces, ready to embrace the pain and power of words. Our experiences whittled into lines, stanzas, and metaphor. Our final sculptures reflecting what we've learned from each other. We dive deep into our lives, providing intimacy doesn't require flesh, only sharing of what makes us, us. We grew away from fear into truth, knowing we'd be watered and would soon bloom. Each Saturday, I showered in poetry. The traumas of my past trickled down my skin, disappearing into the drain. I released what I couldn't let go, knowing we were collectively practicing a resurrection. From September to June, we crafted our voices, fell in love with ourselves. Outside, a pandemic left millions dead. We were the anchors, keeping our boats from tumbling into a Bermudian triangle of depressed isolation. It was about poetry, but it was also about family, coming to church every week. Even when I couldn't hear the angels, only the demons crawling through my bones. I showed up bearing my authentic soul without a single regret and plenty of tears. To my Saturday church, a congregation is proof poetry is heaven on earth. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Just yeah, I think truly like CLI Season A saved my life because it was during the pandemic, and I don't. Yeah, the community that was created was really just so important to me. So thank you, CLI.
All right, thank you, Karo. Thank you. I want to, before I get to the next poet, I want to give a shout out to some of the people who are actually working this event right now. We got a couple students from the USC class who are helping us out. Give it up for Naomi in the back, holding it down, taking all your money in the front. And also we got my man Joe, aka DJ Sally Mae, in the front. DJ Sally Mae playing deferment after deferment after deferment. And I also want to give a shout out to Jackie, who's also helping us out, and she comes every time they come, and she does whatever is needed to be done. So thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Naomi. And this next poet that I'm calling up to the mic, she works here at the library also. She's the social media coordinator, and she does such incredible work. I feel like so many of the events that we have are well attended and promoted because of her. And she's been able to like reach so many people that would have been like almost impossible to reach. You know, like every other week she'd be like, yeah, we're gonna have a visit from like the city librarian in charge of every public library in the city of Los Angeles. I'm like, how did you get in contact with this person? She was like, I was in his DM. So like it'd be like, you'd be like, how did you? You know, we'd be getting like boxes of books from like Oregon, from Texas, from Mississippi. I'd be like, how did they know about us? And it's because of the work that she does. So please put your hands together for Sandra Sanchez coming up to the mic.
You and the answer to that is that I stalk them on social media, which is kind of fun. Okay, thank you. This is an elegy in progress. Nona, you're good with words. Can you write something for Papi? We need someone to read for the velorio. It can be in English. He loved your writing. Sorry, we know it's hard. I think about dying, and then I think about Papi's gaveta, a brown, deteriorating thing thrown out for the city to keep. It held loose change and old business cards with a list of birthdays on the back. Nona, we have to go. Yeah, levántate. We need flowers. Don't forget the water bottle. Clean the tombstone. Rip the weeds out. Vamos. We have to go home soon. Say goodbye. Guilt shakes me awake on the nights I forget to pray to Papi. When did breathing become this difficult? I dream of kneeling on rice, bloodied hands held above my head in penance. Nona, can we sell the truck? We know you wanted to keep it. We can't afford to fix it. Please, don't be sad. We'll keep the seat cushion for you. The money will help pay the rent. Please say yes. I try not to think about dying. I Google El Salvador instead. Learn about El Flor de Isote. Imagine taking its white petals like cumulus clouds and devouring them. Thank you. Um, One of the greatest gifts that I've received working here is sort of this push for joy um, amidst all the sadness and the grief that I think can sometimes threaten to swallow you whole. And so my poems, my new poems since working here are trying to do that, trying to pivot towards the joy, which can be kind of difficult. Your letter arrives at night, and I can't hold you all alone, my hope. We lie, we try here. Vulnerability begins with you, continues with me. Somewhere you're calling me to you, and I'm treading oceans to return. Somewhere we aren't in love, and we have fresh coffee waiting for us at home. We exist somewhere safe, you and I. Can you imagine it? A tomorrow with us in it. Meet me there. I'll arrive soon. Soon. Thank you.
Give it up one more time for Sandra Sanchez. Getting paid to stalk people on Instagram. Love it. Pivot towards joy. I think that's a book title right there. I think that's the title of your first book. Pivot towards joy. Yeah, love it. All right, so now we want to shift to some of the incredible stars of CLI, and those are the teachers, right? The teachers who are teaching the class, and CLI has grown to have chapters all over the country, and we got some people here that are, they're just not only incredible poets, but they can take role too. Give out them C minuses and B pluses. So without further ado, I'm gonna call up some of the teachers, and since Karo read that incredible poem dedicated to her class, I want to call up the person who taught that class. Coming up to the mic, give it up for Tommy Domino, the teacher of the Long Beach chapter of CLI.
My Nafasi pursues rains, chasing the Mara River, sun giver of life. I vibrate on the birth of a wildebeest. Fleet-footed run first, terse lessons. Predators stalk this herd as we follow the clouds through the Serengeti. Instincts heavy, celestial forces map these courses embedded in cosmic fire. We cabbage patch over blue Niles, step over the jaws of crocs, dodging lions, trying to stop our migration. Many are lost, but we cross the Maji to survive. Many fall like seeds. Spirits planted in us, they grow, we rise. Stolen from Senegal shores. Boats with no oars, shipping Moors without turbans, sold as urban crops, being plucked by cops, wet and left to dry in the middle of blacktops, streets, and city sidewalks. I peppered poems buried deep in my Waketabu. The poets listen to the way I riff, comedic, sifted by blues crafted on bar stools. What you know about repos and sketchy water holes, pawn shops that never close along with liquor stores, stirring the waters of my troubled soul. Used to be whole, now fragmented, cemented, fused with pain and struggle, coupled between gin and shots, juggled between work and home. My poems are overflowing jars filled with scars, past and present, ancient lessons taught by old folks who spoke to southern trees and the roots and the fruits stolen from Senegal. The heat is rising, the beat is rising, the seething between inhaling and exhaling breath. Flatline before the reaper arrives, the flies gather before I open my eyes, because death is my shadow. As we battle shallow court proceedings that decide whether my breathing is legal, I thirst my freedom, justice, my sovereignty, my birthright, stolen on Senegal shores. Boats without oars, shipping Moors without turbans sold, plucked by cops, left to dry in the middle of blacktops, streets, and city sidewalks. Let me say that it is an honor to be an instructor. I remember years back, Hiram just kind of threw that seed out there. That's the way he is. He just threw it out there. Oh, one day I want to have a Long Beach chapter. I was like, okay, whatever. And then he invited me to a special. I went to most of the graduations, but this one was special. I think it was year 6. Was it year 6? And he said, okay, Tommy, you're going to help me out with this. And I said, okay, cool. So we're pulling stuff from one side of USC to the other side. We're carrying labor and, just, all this heavy stuff. And we get over there and he says, I got a surprise. And this was the first time that they had printed books at the end of the class. And I think it was Andy's class, right? And I remember him setting up the books and I was like, they got books. They got books. And they don't even know that they got these books. And when he opened the door, he said, we got a surprise for you. Open the door. And you just should have seen their faces. In that moment, I was hooked. I said, there's nothing I'd rather do than to help somebody, pursue their dream of writing a book. Because I was crying. He always, crying again. I don't mind being emotional, but it was just so powerful to see their faces. And that feeling, for instructors who haven't had that opportunity yet, when you actually get to perform at one of the students that was in your class at their book signing and remembering all the mornings that you woke up and helped them workshop those pieces, it's so powerful. There's nothing like it. It's nothing more spiritual than that. This is God's work, okay? So with that said, I'll just do a classic. Soothe me, baby. Soothe me. Soothe me with your kindness. Oh, your powerful love is so soothing to me. Soothe me, baby. Soothe me. Soothe me with your kindness. Oh, your powerful love is so soothing to me. Soothe me. These blues, they go deep. Like Merrill. I used to walk the narrow, now I'm on the wide, hanging with the so-called backsliders. Writers stuck between the church and the juke joint. My mood moves my pinpoint across bar napkins where I anoint with the secrets of my elders. The true welders of these bars, I spit 16 bars. In 16 bars, I bring blues. Without a guitar, I stay in muddy waters, trying to feed my daughters as I walk that narrow and I constantly barter with the devil. Bringing a pebble to this gunfight. I talk to my mom at night. Try as I might, I can never bring her back. I could get attacked, but it won't erase the fact I was a bad son, bad seed, 40 ounces of weed I always seemed to need. Like a fish need water, got that from my father, who I never knew. Bounced when I was too predisposed to these blues, like cheap shoes that cardboard can't fix. Gin and juice mix won't let me forget that we struggled off these tidbits. It makes me livid how the one times treat us like we exhibits. They put us on walls because they want us behind walls, broke with 3 strikes, with nothing but my balls and my word. With these words, I'll elevate beyond curbs, singing, soothe me, baby, soothe me with your kindness. Oh, your powerful love is so soothing to me. I drop verses like I'm running from curses that they say is biblical. That's why I'm mercurial minds on serial numbers, mugshots and Glocks on blocks that stay hotter than ghost peppers. And educators treat us like lepers, infect us with low self-esteem, twisting king's dreams, but never saying a thing about Malcolm or Huey. I know more about the 13th Louis than I know about Lucy from Africa. Diaspora in my plasma, slave and master concoct to make this poetic blather that I massage in your cerebral like lather. Of the aquatic cadavers, they visit me in my dreams, and they never knew about a swinging low chariot. Inside of us, they are buried, resurrected in 65. 2020 and 92. Different year, but the same blues got me singing. Soothe me, baby, soothe me with your kindness. Oh, your powerful love is so soothing to me. Ashe.
Yeah, yeah. Give it up for Tommy Domino with the Long Beach chapter. One more time. Man. Yeah. Oh, definitely someone who can, for sure. Just wait. That was an amazing moment, Tommy. Like, that was an amazing moment. Not only the poem that we just heard from you, but that moment at USC. You know, some of us were there. It's just it's an incredible experience to just watch somebody like hold a dream in their hand that they've been wanting to do for years and years. It's a great experience. And so, all right. So this next poet I'm calling up to the mic was also a part of that class that Karo wrote about. She was the former TA in the Long Beach class, and now she's the instructor for the USC chapter of CLI. I call her Queen of the Prompt because every poem that she writes is fire. It is. And so she put out a book, and you're going to hear from it or from her. Please put your hands together for Ravina Wadhwani, professor of the USC chapter of CLI.
I can't put my hands on the mic, so I'm gonna just. How do I follow Tommy D? I can't. See what you did there. I see what you did there. Okay, I'm gonna try my best. My love is a wildfire, demanding orange riot, smoke show, eruption, disruption, shaky, trembling, earthquake. My love is kind, but needy, tender and holy, sacred and fertile. My love is brick wall waiting to be smashed into a million pieces. My love is a sensitive summer thing, My love is you and I, undressing each other's poems with our voices, caressing each wound in every stanza. My love is shelter. My love is abundance. My love is a high standard, but a fast fall, a trip, a drunken stumble, a knee to the concrete, scraping perfectly moisturized skin, demanding to go deeper, curious of what shade will bleed within you. My love gives and gives and gives and gives until it is bruised and then gives some more. My love must be a mother, a warm but tired voice on the other end of the line still puts you to sleep with her cracked hands. My love is wounded soldier, still asking to be loved regardless of losing parts of itself in previous wars. My love is the knife and the gauze and the tsunami and the stillness of the lake. My love is a little bit of extra sugar and cinnamon and Sunday banana chocolate chip pancakes. My love soothes, stings, supports, screams, and shouts. Soothes like Vicks and heals like aloe. My love bleeds and bleeds and bleeds until it is dry and then gives some more. My love will remind you that you exist. Will ring out stories from within your deepest corner. My love is godly, lives in a temple, comes out when worshipped, reminds you of an answered prayer. Thank you. So I thought I would share a little bit of story time since everyone's kind of sharing some stories. But I've been kind of like a nomad for a lot of my life, like moving from place to place and home to home. And I moved here about 4 years ago. And when I moved here, I was very fortunate to find Never Speak Long Beach. Shout out to Tommy D and Philosophy in the room. And I remember like coming to the West Coast with like 11 poems written down in my pocket, like maximum. And I was like, I really hope one day I can turn that into something. And I spoke it into the universe. And then I showed up. I was very tired from work and I wasn't going to show up, but it was First Fridays at the Arts Expo Center out in Atlantic on Long Beach. And I showed up and Hiram Sims was the feature. And Tommy Domino was sitting by the open mic list. And I wrote my name down and he'll tell you I scratched it off and then I wrote it back in there. And then I spit a poem about my mom, and then I spit another poem about something else. I don't remember. But I got off stage and Tommy D said, you have to write a book. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but I believe what you're saying because you're Tommy Domino. How do you ever refute what this man says? And it was only because people like Tommy believed in my work, and I had this would not exist without that man or Hiram Sims. I dropped something. I don't know what it is. And then it was a Friday and it was like September 6th, 2019, something like that. And Hiram was like, yeah, so we got this program and it's like the best thing in the world and it's going to change your life. And we got like 2 seats left. So talk to me. And then after the open mic, we talked for like an hour. And then 2 days later, I was sitting in a class in USC and then my life changed. So all that being said, is just like these things that we put out into the world are nothing without the people that believe in them before we do. So, and now I am so fortunate to teach for the Thursday night class at the USC chapter that is virtual. And it's like Hiram was saying, it's beautiful to see where, like we have this library now. And that all started with your vision. So thank you so much for changing my life. So I wanted to read a new poem, if that's cool with you guys. So has anyone ever like gone to the family functions or like people's houses and then you sit on the dinner table and they just ask you like irrelevant questions that are like super inappropriate and like, why do you got to point that out? Whatever. So this poem is in response to one of those questions. I'd like to invent the greatest unit of measurement to help construct the most appropriate comment in response to theirs when they say, have you gained weight? I will measure my weight by the heaviness of this smile, the number of miles my laughter can travel, or the number of years I spent loving on this body without the need for a scale to affirm me. I will measure myself by how many inches this body can expand to hold all of the stories I have collected inside of this soft belly, for these curves are only windy roads with beautiful views along the numerous chapters I have written and traversed in this lifetime. I will tell them, look at how much weight I have gained from the lessons I have learned, and see how they stick to this honey skin. I will measure myself by the number of days I survived my own depression, by the number of stages I stood on, spirit bare naked and stomach so full of love from being able to tell my story. I will wrap my body in measuring tape and allow my folds and flesh to melt freely. I will love my sag just as much as I love these crooked teeth. I will measure myself by how far these stretch marks paint themselves on this canvas of a body like shooting stars. And I will say, look at all the pounds I have lost from the things I have learned to let go of, this weight shed from the expectations of needing to stay pinned shut in a casket that is supposed to define me. I will allow the weight of the sun to dig its way into my arms. I will define myself by the amount of lines I wrote that built the ladder out of my own grief, by the days it took to overcome the fear of a cancer scare. I will measure myself by the amount of hours it took to dig my way out of my own grave, the number of steps it took to come running back to myself, the amount of hurdles I have jumped with these thick thighs, the amount of times I stayed in my own body when everything else left. I've learned to measure myself by the amount of hours I spent untangling the weight of others' judgments so that my truth could breathe free. So when they ask, have you gained weight? I will hand them this book and tell them, how dare you judge me by my bold, beautiful, thick, brown cover. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Damn. I told you she could follow him. I told you. I was like, wait till you see who's next. Uh, you first of all, that's why I just can't stand going to the barbecue with the family, right? You be like, dang, did you gain weight? You've been big for like 30 years. So stupid questions. Stupid questions. Um, but I just want to say about that moment you mentioned, in Long Beach at that open mic, and like being able to hear a poet, like it's like crystal clear. You know, it's like if any of you ever watched American Idol, right? How long does it take for you to know that somebody could sing? Probably 4 seconds, and that's how long it takes. Like when you hear poets like Ravina, whether they got 11 poems or 1100, right? It's just clear, right? So thank you, Ravina. Give it up for Ravina one more time. So this next poet I'm calling up to the mic, he teaches the national chapter of CLI with poets from all over the nation. And so one of the things I appreciate so much about Andy is, to me, Andy's like a architect, like he can actually design programs. And so me and Andy met many times in my garage designing CLI and making it more and more beneficial for the students that came through it. And so I so appreciate the work he does as a teacher and as a program developer for CLI. So without further ado, please put your hands together for Andy Sanchez, professor of the national chapter of CLI.
Hey, good evening, everyone. So I'm trying to read poems in my book that I don't give a lot of love to. Sometimes I don't get to read them. So I'm gonna read this one and a new one. It's called When She Cut Watermelon. Long story short, I hated the way one of my ex-partners cut watermelon. On hot, sticky summers, you stood in the kitchen with knife pulled from the wooden block, cutting board hitting the counter, and watermelon picked by your hands. Your hands, they knew exactly how I liked to be held. They were just good liars. I saw the blade pierce the first layer of green, then white, then red without warning, tore into the heart, my heart. Broke it open with your fingers until I heard the outer shell crack, until its blood dripped on your skin. You put one half aside, took the other, carved out a triangle in the middle, the sweetest part, the most tender, the part people usually reach last. You carved sloppily without direction or symmetry, penetrated the stainless steel deep enough to watch it bleed into itself, put the jagged pieces into a bowl, ate others, fed some pieces of me to myself, dug in with careless cuts to be sure it was unrecognizable, an imperfect fruit that no one else would ever want. So as part of the sixth cohort of students, and Tommy was there, he told the story earlier about how we saw our books for the first time. And I was like, what is going on right now? We were supposed to have our books until like later when we actually like did all of the process, right, of getting a publisher and all of that. It was such a magical moment. But the story that I want to tell is, so after I finished the program, I went up to Hiram and I was like, hey, do you need any help, like, you know, with the program? Do you, you know, and he was like, yes. And he's like, come meet me in my garage and we're gonna hang out and talk about program. And I was like, okay. And the garage was actually the first library. And so we sat in, you know, the area where all the books were, and then I think another time we sat where all of the computers, the laptops are in the back, and we just talked about how to design CLI. And you know, I told him all of my ideas, and it's funny because Hiram, when he's like he hasn't bought into something yet, he's like, interesting. So I know when to move on from that idea. I'm like, all right, let me try something else. But I appreciate his honesty, and it's been like, I appreciate you so much, Hiram. Like we've had, you know, such a journey in working together. And, you know, I have a full-time job, and when I teach for CLI on Saturday mornings, it's not a job. Like it's such a great experience to get to see folks grow, you know, in their journey as writers, and that, you know, that I'm supporting in that process, you know, and Tommy said it so well, like we get to support folks, you know, build their dreams, right, and create these books. So anyway, thank you so much for everything that CLI has brought into my life. And I'm going to close out with this poem. And it's called Healing the Land First. And I was going through a really hard time earlier in the year, and I had to take some time off work and just kind of reevaluate my self-care. I used to be a case manager, a crisis counselor, a support worker, a patient navigator, a home visitor, a program assistant, a health educator. I've worked with newborn babies, people living with HIV, youth experiencing homelessness, minors unaccompanied across the border, new mothers, and survivors of abuse. It's been a 24-year stretch since I've stepped into the workforce. That is more than half my life. I was taught a strict work ethic from my parents, who both had jobs that were physically demanding, showed up early and left late, never missed a day of work. They were taught that in order to survive, work had to come first. These lessons, the soil I was planted in, was made up of my upbringing, my beliefs, my morals, my biases, my traumas, all things deeply seated in my being. Hoping to be a dandelion growing through the concrete, I went to college, but academia didn't warn me about the time I'd spend holding space for others, constantly exercising my emotions. Over time, I realized that even desert plants need to be watered. As I gained more experience, I discovered that my strengths include listening with empathy, being resourceful, and advocating for those in need. I'm also super proud of my ability to connect with people. It reassures me that I am seen as a trusted and safe person. This one time, I supported a trans youth fulfilling her goal of getting her name changed. Unaccompanied minors confided in me their stories about looking for a better life across the border. Once, I witnessed a young man advocate for himself as he told his parents his new pronouns. And it was the moment that I decided to live as my true self. See, there have been times when I've been the hero in someone's story and times when I was the one being saved. My lesson from these and many experiences is that I saw parts of myself in their journeys, but struggled to process the transference. So I began developing compassion fatigue, and the burnout was inevitable. I had to revisit my foundation to heal the land first, to ensure I don't replant my pain in other people's gardens. I'd forgotten that before I could witness the growth in others, I had to treat my soil regularly, loosen the dirt, pull out the weeds to keep my topsoil fresh. I noticed that over time, when I invest in regular maintenance, I produce super blooms. Everything I do brings me joy and my flow is unstoppable. I had to deprogram my mind from this sensationalized version of self-care. How useful are quotes if they lead to no action? What good is a podcast if I don't listen with an open mind and heart? How helpful is a TED Talk if there is no intention to change? Just as I grow, those around me do the same, but at their own pace and in their own time. My usage of water and light may be different, but in the end, the goal is the same: to blossom from contentment with life. Healing myself means that my self-care must be radical, making deliberate decisions about honoring my mental, physical, and spiritual needs. To me, this means 5 minutes of conscious breathing, 10 minutes of journaling a day, making space for therapy sessions, taking planned time off to recharge and reframe. My choices must be the catalyst for true and authentic healing, beginning with one action of self-love at a time. Thank you all.
We're going for Andy Sanchez, teacher of the national chapter of CLI. Andy, it's funny you were telling that story about about when you hit me up and you said in your version of the story, you said you were like, Hiram, do you need help? And in my version of the story, you were like, Hiram, you need help. You need a lot of help. And I'll help you. All right. Love you, Andy. Appreciate you. Love your poetry. Andy's book is called This Body. Make sure you get a copy of that before you leave tonight. All right, this next poet that I'm calling up to the mic, she, I think, is what I really admire about her is that she has so much, I guess I'll call it hustle, right? I think she's part Jamaican. She got so many jobs in CLI. So she, we needed a development director to help us with fundraising. She said, I will do that job. Then we needed someone to manage the children's book production process. She was like, I'll do that job. Then last week we were like, man, we need like an editor to edit 4 manuscripts in a week. She was like, I'll do that job. So I really appreciate her. She's taught several workshops for CLI, for the library. She is the way she has outlined how to submit poetry to nationally recognized journals. It's like she is an absolute genius, and CLI is blessed to have her working with us. Please put your hands together for Anne Marie Wells joining us. Hey.
Hi. Thank you. Can you hear me? I don't know if I will know if you can hear me because can you hear me? Hiram, can you hear me? Everybody says yes. Is that
Yeah,
yes?
we hear you very good.
Okay, great. So I went through a breakup and I no longer live in LA, unfortunately. But I am making like a shit ton of poetry now. I am Taylor Swifting it up, and here we go. And if it is true that all humans fall short of perfect, if it is true that every one of us has choked on a jagged mistake, if it is true that we let ourselves down as much as we let others down, then can't we find a sort of solace in our ambivalence toward each other? Knowing we both have harmed and will harm the people we love, however unintentionally or remorsefully. And we too would shatter, would writhe in the ache of our own blame, would live a life of black and white memories if we were ever abandoned, left without forgiveness, as much as we want to abandon and leave without forgiving. I want that true kind of love, not the white smiles or white sand or white dress. Give me the snaggletooth and sweat stains and dark truths. Give me a love wise with contradictions, a love that defies unresolved tension, a love that knows patience takes practice, knows that patience is an action, an art needing to be crafted rather than a resignation or stagnant passion. Give me the love that lives within the certainty of doubt, resting assured that uncertainty has always been a part of it, will be a part of anyone, of any love. I mean, isn't it a lie that love will never hurt, never insult, never disappoint? I think it is. I mean, it must be if my love hurt you and your love hurt me too. If love has always hurt its loved ones, even if only for a moment, a fleeting moment. Couldn't you just hold me anyway, hold on to me anyway, despite the hurt, and I'll hold on to you too. And if we stop wanting to, even if we stop wanting to hold on, then just how about we just agree? If we stop wanting to hold on, then we will stop. But couldn't we agree? Can't we agree too that if we stop holding on, then we won't let go. We won't let go. We won't. Thank you. And that somehow was not a very convincing argument. I hope you are laughing. I can't hear you if you are, so I'll cross my fingers. So then my last piece is a shorter one. But if you had said yes, I would have dragged my paws across the welcome mat, rubbed my forehead into your collarbone. You would have caged my ribs with your arms, and we would have breathed heavy, relieved. We had survived what we had almost done. Like a two-door coupe, fishtailing on a January road in the Adirondack Mountains as a semi barrels around the bend. Bumper buried in a snowbank, we would have found gratitude in our shattered headlights, found joy in excavating the tires on our knees, one handful of snow at a time. Thank you, everyone. That's all I got today.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Appreciate you. Can you hear me? Good. Okay. All right. All right. Give it up for Anne-Marie one more time. Joining us from, are you in DC, Washington, DC?
I am in Washington, D.C., the capital of this country.
Booyah. All right. Okay. All right. All right. So this next poet that we got coming up to the mic, she was a part of CLI season 7, which had to be like the most resilient season of CLI ever, you know, because in the middle of their class, the pandemic hit, you know, and I had never taught a class online ever. And so once the pandemic hit and we couldn't, USC was like, you can't come here. And I was like, well, that's it. It's over, you know, but we tried it, and the students actually helped me to get things together and to be able to transform this format so that it could work on Zoom. And I don't know if y'all remember, but like Greta was surprisingly good on Zoom, just like really, really good. She's like, what you got to do is hit that green button that says share screen and then click on the audio. Like she helped us out. So that's the season that she was a part of. And I believe the next year she was a TA for Andy's class, correct? And now she is the professor for the Cal State LA chapter of CLI, one of the dopest chapters ever. From Tending My Wild, please give it up for Alex Petunia coming up to the mic.
This poem is called No Hibernation. I'm standing in a muddy puddle barefoot. Floating about me is a crumpled bag of Doritos and an empty cup from La Monarca. My crutches for eating my feelings these days. How did I get here? How did I lose my shoes along the way? Why are my scrubs soggy and tattered? I look at the sidewalk ahead of me, quiet from the ghosts that used to give it life. I am a nurse in a pandemic, wishing I was elsewhere. I am longing for the spirit of bear. Bear, making any journey its own, venturing to be's sweetness, dancing its back scratch on redwood bark. Bear, fishing rivers patiently with open claws, minding its own needs with berries and humble jaws, but when standing and raising its voice, the world shudders to attention. Bear, hibernating with introspection, not yet ready for spring, only wanting the safety of a cave and honey and blankets and books and Netflix and pen. I am not wanting these blue scrubs, this nursing badge, not these worries for my family and friends, nor concerns for the unhoused or abused, not the overconsumers at grocery stores, nor the anti-maskers protesting for economy over humanity. Not the doctors prescribing to themselves while their patients go without, nor the government withholding medical supplies for frontliners, not the nurses taking their own lives, nor the families losing kin, not the tears drowning hopes for a global future to heal from all this injustice, loss, and pain. I know why I stand in this puddle of earth's tears, because they are my own. I yearn to hide in a redwood forest because these are my wants to escape from society's ugliness. I want to be bare with all of this, grounded in heart and ferocious with mouth, roaring away the cruelty of now. As a nurse cub becoming bare, I witnessed the courageous flowers of community blooming alongside me, despite isolation and turmoil. I relish in the water's call to flow forward for myself and anyone else I can nurture along the way. The only way to truly be bare in all of this is to stomp out of this puddle barefoot and sure-footed, rumbling clouded rage into clear affirmations, steady with the knowing that I am still standing, ready with a roar to tremble away all this wickedness into kindness. Emerging from this mind cave, I sharpen my eyes, perk up my ears. I raise my hands up to the sky, burly and wide, and like bear, I trust my muddy feet forward. Thank you. So I'm a nurse practitioner, and I decided, hey, why don't I write a book? Because Andy said I should, and I should probably do what Andy says. And then I said, okay, I'm going to do this book. And then pandemic hit, and I wrote that poem, and I could not have done this book without season 7, meeting every week and keeping each other going. So then I TA'd for Andy last year, and now I have my own class, season 9, our Tuesday family. So I'd like to share a poem I wrote for my students when we had the mood check. What is your legacy? What do you want to do with your poetry? And I took notes, and I wrote this for them. And I share this with you because you are also a part of this poem. So this is called When We Poet. A poet can take you through the fires of hell and bless you with angel wings of redemption. A poet can honor you with sacred oral traditions passed down beyond generations and give you a moment of now for your whole self-salvation. A poet can ignite your torch called pen and hold your hand to raise that torch higher in the sky fearlessly. A poet is a furious rage, a fist of furious rage, entangled with roots of love, bound by our shared agony. Yet a poet still finds the gumption and grit to bring ink to page and write the truth no one else can speak. There are poets who dream big, of manuscripts completed and books on shelves ready to mend the broken in us all. There are poets who dream big, of stages with live bands and tours across the globe, revolutionizing the medicine of word power. There are poets who dream big, teaming up to unhinge hearts, teaching others to see the poetry inside us all. There are poets who dream big, writing not just their own stories, but also honoring those lost, echoing their legacies timeless. There are poets who dream big, witnessing the magic of their word courage, writing a new world possible beyond dreams. We are these poets. We are big dreams come to life. Thank you.
Right. We are poets. We are big dreams come to life. Big dreams come to life. All right. So I want to do you know if Jackie's back? No? Okay. I want to give a shout out to one more person who this is his first day working with us. He's on the payroll too. He's a student at the LA Film School and he's filming poets for us tonight. Give it up for Carlos over there helping us out. Very happy to have you, Carlos. And so I want to talk about, well, first I want to announce also that we ordered some pizza and it's on the way. Jackie went to go get it. And so we got some sodas in the kitchen. And so as soon as we're done in here, we're going to take a break and then we'll go outside, eat some pizza, drink some soda, burp a little bit, and then we'll come back and hear the open mic because we got some great poets reading in the open mic. But right before the half of every Pages on Stages, I just like drop a little poetry history. So I just want to do that, for a few minutes. So the first thing I want to tell you about, because this night we're celebrating poets with jobs, right? And the fact that poets are able to sustain their lives in part or in whole through working in the field of poetry. So I just want to tell you like 3 very short stories that are connected to that. The first one is the experience that I had at USC. I was an undergrad studying business and flunking out. And I was on academic probation. And then my parents were like, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. And the next semester, I got a chance to take a poetry class with David St. John. And it's like the first poetry class that I ever had. You do some stuff in high school, but it's like the first poetry class I ever had. And this was like the most incredible experience I've ever had as a student. And so afterward, I was like, in the least creepy way possible, I would like to be you. So so tell me like to me, before I went to college, it's like poetry is like a hobby, right? It's like something you do every now and then, like whenever it's like like playing checkers, and then you find out there's like a checkers master, right? And you're like, what? There's a league where people play checkers, and there's people, like so like he really exposed me to like being a poet and also that being his career. You know, like I asked him, what's your schedule like? He was like, well, you know, of course I write poetry and I publish poetry books. And, you know, I teach here at USC about like 2 days a week from like 10 to 2. And I was like, say what? I was like, you know, like, I didn't ask him this, like, you know, he never told me like how much money he made, but I did Google it. And that USC full-time professors start off at like 130. And I was like, this guy's at least making like 130, like teaching poetry. Like that really blew my mind. And so I just, you know, wanted to just hang out with him. And he really did like show me the path to this job. And so, you know, I wrote a book. It's unreleased, but it's coming out in the summer. It's called Read Every Day, Write Every Day: Inspirational Stories from the Lives of Writers. And I want to tell you about the 2 stories of poets who got jobs. So the first one was William Ernest Henley. So William Ernest Henley wrote a very famous poem called Invictus. It's actually a poem that Nelson Mandela used to recite every day while he was in prison. It's really a world famous poem. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. So, you know, like that's like the first of 3 stanzas. So William Ernest Henley, he was living in London in the 1870s, and he was sending out his poetry to be published in these magazines, right? And the magazines were paying poets and short story writers for publication. And he kept getting like rejection. And so he had about 90 different rejection letters. And so first he was just depressed, right? He was like, I must suck because I'm not getting published. And then he went back and read the job title of everyone that rejected him. And it said acquisitions editor on every single letter. And William Ernest Henley was like, I know what I'll do. I'll get a job as an acquisitions editor. So he applied for a job working for the London magazine as a volunteer acquisitions editor. And then he became a full-time acquisitions editor. And he chose everything that got published in that magazine. And then one day he started publishing his own poetry under a different name. And so people started writing letters like, this anonymous poet is so incredible, fantastic. Who is this? Like drumming up all this like mystery, right? And then eventually he started putting his name on the poems that got published. And he worked for 5 different lit magazines. And that's how his work became so famous, because he had a job on the platform that put out all of this work. There's no TV in 1870. There's no Instagram. There's no, like the magazines, the newspapers, like that's it. Like that's how people are reading the work, right? So fast forward about 110 years, there's a young rapper in Atlanta. His name is Christopher Bridges. And so he was going to Georgia State University, but he had been rapping for 4 years. And so he made a demo tape, and there was a very famous radio station, still exists, called Hot 97 in Atlanta. It's like the #1 rap station. And so he got his demo tape in the hands of the like #1 DJ, whose name was Shaka Zulu. So Shaka Zulu listened to the tape, wrote like Christopher Bridges came to the radio station to drop it off, and then Shaka called him back, and he was like, oh man, bet I'm about to be famous, like he about to play me on the radio tonight. And Shaka Zulu like called him up, and he was like, look, you have a lot of talent, but like this recording is not ready. You are not ready. Like you need to go back, do some more work, and get your rhymes and your recording elevated enough to be on the radio, right? So then he went home, probably cried, right? And then the next day he came back and said, I would like to be a volunteer intern at this radio station. And so he first volunteered in the mailroom. All the all the while working his way up back to that radio station. Then he became a volunteer in the control room, and then he learned how to work all the controls. And then he asked for any available time. He was like, I'll DJ at midnight from like 2 to 3 a.m. Like whatever time is available, I will DJ. So as soon as something opened up, they gave him the spot. And then he adopted the DJ name Chris Lover Lover. Right. And then he became the person who chose what music got played during his time. Right. And then 6 months in, he was like, now it's time for me to put my own work. And he's like, y'all, we got an amazing up and coming rapper. His name is Ludacris. And I'm about to play his song right now. And so he started like playing his own stuff on that platform. And people are like, who is this? Where can I buy this single? Where can I get this album? Right. And so, like this is how so many people have become prominent writers. Both of these people are poets, like Ludacris and William Ernest Henley, but because they sought jobs on platforms that were distributing work. So any of you like who want a job, like within the creative writing community, the first message is that, yes, you can, like these jobs exist. There are jobs where people are running open mics, people who are editing, people who are writing, people who are doing cover designs, layout designs, and of course, people who are teaching the actual creative writing. And so these opportunities like exist, especially if you can find out what jobs sort of surround the art that you love so much. Like the NFL has 58,000 employees and only 2,000 of them play football. Like it's a field of work. And if you explore the field, you'll find an opportunity, a job working on the platform. So I just wanted to drop a little bit of that history. Just want to say thank you to every poet who has touched the stage already. Give it up for all these CLI employees, with W-2s and 1099s and all of that. All right, so we're going to turn the music back up. We're going to take a 20-minute break, go outside, eat some food, come back for the open mic. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the open mic. All right, so we got a bunch of y'all that want to read, and so looking forward to hearing each and every one of you. We are going to hear everybody that's on the list, right? So I'm excited about all of these poets. What time is it? What time is it? 8:30. Okay. All right. I'm getting older because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna say, I need to be in bed at 9:45 tonight. Yes, Lisbeth, she's a night owl. She parties with the best of them. All right, so we got two people in Zoom land who want to read on the open mic. And so we appreciate y'all sticking around. They stuck around through the whole pizza break. Give it up for them. Give it up for y'all on Zoom who stuck around while we ate pizza and root beer over here and had a good time. All right, so we got two names on the Zoom open mic list. The first person we want to hear from is Marlena. Give it up for Marlena. And beautiful hat. All right.
Hi, everybody. Happy to be here. And I'll first explain why I decided to put on a hat. Typically, of course, Easter Sunday, Easter weekend, people do put on hats. And I did used to do that. I live in Arizona, so, people don't press you to put on hats and what have you, but I decided why not. And also Anne Marie, who was our teaching assistant, I saw her with her hat on and I was like, hey, why don't I do that too? And there are a couple of reasons. And then the next reason is I do call myself a hat lover. I take pictures, post some of them with me in different hats. I also sell hats, but I'll talk about that at another time. But if you go to Instagram, you can get more info about that. And last but not least, my mother taught us all about hats. She used to wear them to church all the time. So now I get to my poem. My poem is dedicated to my mother, and it's called Red. Her color was red for certain things, not everything, not because it was her favorite. Green was her favorite, not because we buried her in a red dress, wearing one of her favorite navy church hats, not because it was her chosen shade of lipstick, not because she painted her fingers that color. She was feminine, but rarely wore nail polish. Her 3 daughters were just like her in that respect, but her husband did polish his nails, clear polish. So men doing that is not new, only the colors are. Their only brother, their only son, never. Her color was red, not because she loved to see things and people bleed, never insisted on matching tees or outfits in red, never bought an SUV in crimson red, never had those kind of desperate needs. Her family always got the bandages first. But she needed roses, red American beauties, no other color, and she insisted on writing her checks out in memorable red ink. In curlicue cursive handwriting I always loved. Red was my mother's color then. Mom had a fortress of big pens with red ink. Dad worked sometimes 2 jobs while mom paid all of our bills in red ink. Sometimes right before saying the proverbial red. When they both died in 2005, their attic was filled with their paper monuments, including canceled checks. We could finally shred, but I kept some. Mom and Dad died in the black. Mortgages too were paid in full by then. Money in the bank to give to their 4 adult children. Thankful there was no red at the end, except for Mom's bright red dress, funeral roses, and some of her big pins. Thank you. Happy Easter for those that celebrate.
Thank you, Marlena. Excellent poem. All right, so we have one more person in Zoom land who's about to grace the mic. DJ Sally Mae, who was it? Miss Zany coming live from Austin, Texas. Give it up for Miss Zany on the mic.
Greetings, everybody. This poem that I am going to read for you this evening is called Chant for Change, and a little bit about it. I used to be a Nichiren Daishonin Buddhist, and this is pretty much just my exit to the left poem for them. I've learned a whole lot, and yet decided after nearly 10 years to leave my practice. I remember going to Gohonzon to chant for change. In order to rearrange the shit that was coming from left to right, sometimes out of sight, and I tried with all of my might to adapt. Adapt to the disrespect, adapt to the incorrect, adapt to the misconcept, until I broke down and wept, shouting, "Why in the hell is this happening to me?" The universe replied, "Don't you see, sweetie, life is shifty. If you're not present or mindful for when the veil lifts, you'll be stuck with shitty thoughts, words, and deeds until you beg and plead again, holding out your hand for change. It doesn't grow on trees. It can flow with ease. Don't get on those knees to say, pretty please. Change comes suddenly or ever so swiftly. Yet if you picked me, I promise I would see. Be careful what you chant for. If you're not centered when chanting for more, it'll greet you with a smack before you leave that front door. In peace.
Thank you, Ms. Zaney, all the way from Austin, Texas. And then we had Marlena coming to us from Arizona. Okay, all right. Oh, there's one more. All right. We got one more. DJ Sally Mae, who's on the Zoom mic. You said Maestro? All right, give it up for Maestro. Please clap for Maestro. It's Maestro David. Hey.
Cool. Hey,
We know
family.
you.
Hope everyone's well and safe. And wow, amazing poetry, amazing writing. It's really what I need right now. And I'm sure all of us. So yeah, good to see everyone. I'll just get into it really quick. Why you'll never be the one to save me. You're only mad because you stole it and you still couldn't make it yours. It ain't that hard to figure out now, all this time and death on our back, like a lesson that stays in the blood, can't separate itself from skin. Now my kids' grandsons feel the 400-year-old side eye watching death fan itself in the shade. Whoever heard of slave owners killing natives for the rights to be free to kill more natives? Dissonance respawns like some shameful condensation, hypocrisy. Free men may one day save themselves based on the words from whispered field lips of chained man parts praying devil image spirits to live freer in the next life. But more money in the cotton sack bless folks in only one direction, yet a whole group pulling out their own tongues, rearing mute children stay living. That may be enough to think something else had our back besides Satan in the dead dance, knowing that walking on water is an old damn lie. My great-great-great-grand aunties still make the wind blow over me on a hot day. You wouldn't even let me in the church, but let the church set up shop. Use God as a whole excuse to dress Satan up for the board meeting, dealing death for corporation, afterlife, institution, suit and tie. The bullshit's still going on, burping up treaties and the old bones you couldn't swallow and all the buffalo you ate today and the starve campaign embargo. America yelling at me ugly when I even think about feeling comfortable enough to walk in the house wearing all my joy, let alone hold conversation with the demon was that put it there while speaking in my outside voice by myself, afraid someone might hear me. Tarnished boots sprout colony banners reminding me blood in the dirt don't make it mine. No, sir. I can tell by the way they stand on the ground which side the grass allowed to grow on, even if I'm pushing up daisies, claiming the high ground, knowing whether he do or don't. I'm gonna take 2 steps to nowhere, right where they need me, begging to make every truth their jurisdiction, every death of mine their own private war to liberate, for their own struggle to seek a sacred sometime, for their hate to mean the same thing as pride again, for the babies they fed the currents of dinosaurs to mean poverty, for the men sitting for lifetimes to mean rehabilitation, for the next one killed before even getting started to mean cautionary. I know even a monster project what scares them and then kills everything to keep from knowing they're the monster. I promise to love y'all more than your mistakes and say wrong ain't something else. Know that everything you feel, they try hard to be comfortable enough like it fell out their mouth first. Know that every time we celebrated life, they joined in life while life was taken from us. Know that even right now, there are whole missions to not remember and even more missions to forgive. And yet anger still spring weeds in season every Juneteenth like fresh lawn, cigar mouth, rig mandarin for their friend Jerry, chicken in every pot, talking about the good old days. That's how come I know you'll never be the ones to save me. Because to do that, you got to save you from yourself. And that ain't country, social club, money, class, value, steward, making hypocritical political base or rancid enough to foment fear, spread like spore tip anger virus in a garden of wet paint, self-appointed rosebush, Karen crabgrass. You'll never be the ones to cry my life like a broken promise to every auntie I ever had.
Maestro David. Haven't seen you in a long time, man. Thank you. Thank you for doing that poem.
Peace.
All right, so
Thank
now
you. Good to see you.
the people who are in the room. I'm going to start with the USC students. And they've worked hard not only to plan pages on stages, but, you know, they put out chairs, they, you know, set up the table, welcome you all into the space, and we're very happy and grateful. I'm grateful for the work that they've done this semester. So without further ado, please put your hands together for Naomi and then Joe on the mic.
Will you tell me a story? Maybe a story where the girl wakes up in the morning and everything is perfectly normal, where she falls down a hole and it's just ground at the bottom. One with a girl who does not feel like hunting monsters or marrying the princess or honing her magical powers and mostly wants to sleep. Do you have a story like that? You tell me the one about the girl named Fire, named for her gaze, her breath, her aftermath. But you have told me this story 100 times, its bleak beginning, its gruesome middle, its uncertain end. Do you happen to have one with a normal ending where the girl goes home and life just goes on? Something real where she gets to grow up and grow boring and does not have to choose new dreams? You tell me the one about the girl named Fire. You have told me this story already. You say this one has a new ending, where the girl named Fire does not disappear, does not leave a trail of blood-soaked footprints or a strange carving on a tree stump, but instead drives home on the I-5, stops twice for gas, showers, closes her eyes, and 15 years later has a little girl of her own. I watch your teeth glint behind your lips, your tongue twist behind your teeth, and I think I understand this story for the very first time.
Can't see the flames, though the fire grows, a wafting stench, a black smokestack spewing toxins in the air, faces besmirched with ash, working fingers to the bones, doing whatever it takes to survive. They say life is a struggle for survival while sitting complacent at home. The fire grows, burning coal old as dinosaur bones, the fuel that makes men rich, while blowing smoke up the consumer's ass. Cash will turn to ash when the sun explodes. It will purify the air, stained by industry, sucked to utter airy lies. They let us die while they survive, with intent to colonize another earth. Only ashes left behind. The fire grows and everybody smells the smoke that chokes us all to death. Only bones left behind to stand the test of time. Our bones in the hills of Altadena, in the air, a fire up north, a draft of smoke wafts a blazing path. No survivors, no homes to return to. The fire grows, everything is ashen. White collar man uses this earth as his ashtray, uses the poor, bone thin, as fuel for his heaping trash fire. He capitalizes, then toxifies the air. We must pay. La Madre Tierra survives us. When there is smoke, there is fire, a thick smoke that chokes the poor with ash, their dwindling will to survive, worked fingers to the bones, for the goals of sinful men, for the smog you breathe, for the all-consuming fire. What survives are merely bones, the smoke rising from a heaping pile of ash, makes way for pristine air and waning flame. Bobcat fire. This one is about my experiences in the sweat lodge. Colder wind blows, an uplift flap, an orange grove, lodge made of willow boughs, cloven, the aroma of holy smoke billows, but no heat. River stones cleave, their fragments fill the pit, but no heat and no drum. Voices sing while I hum. Let us pray together, uninterrupted. Light filled our lodge, and all was visible. Self-scrutinized, no perfect man am I, but still no heat, and the singers subside, and wind uplifts, letting a draft inside. Oh, no perfect man am I. Pray for those inside, those where suffering reside, those in the fierce grip of war. Pray for loves and relatives, elders and ancestors. Let us pray together. Let us pray for each other. Gentle Sweat.
All right, give it up for Naomi and Joe from USC, the best university on the face of the earth. Fight on, right? We know that. We know that. And AKoldPiece is not here tonight to, fight against me. So, all right. So the next three poets I want to call up are poets who are no stranger to microphones in our community and people that we love and respect and have been doing this work for a long time. I'm going to call up Naila Porter. I'm going to call up Philosophy. And I will call up Derek Brown to the microphone.
Precious baby boy. Thought I'd throw that in there. Let me just see. Closet DNA. 1. My mother was taught to hate her face. So was I, and thus my own. DNA is a weapon. Raised to lay all adoration at the altar of Europe and lightness, skin, hair, features, and Jesus. Plantation prayer closets groomed us to do masses bidding for generations to come. You are subjects and allies of white supremacy. Honor its traditions, carry out its mission, always think of it and them first. Disobedience renders you sold, murdered, imprisoned, gone. 2. Childhood memory of orders from on high. You gonna marry a white man so I can have some pretty grandbabies with good hair. Subconscious mission accomplished. They are here, mother. You left this plane before seeing our DNA stamped across their faces. The photo of you feeding first grandson while on a diet of oxygen still makes me weep, but at least you saw him. 2 years after your departure, your granddaughter's birth and mother's burial share the same date. They share the same name. I mourn it all constantly. These pretty grandbabies with good hair you wanted, I am too black for them, and as I was for you in this colonized world. My politics lens, filters, and lived experience too black for it all. For you, my skin, nose, hair was evidence of African bloodline. For others, my existence is evidence of unpunished crimes. DNA is a carrier of family features and weariness. 3, I'm haunted by thoughts of our erasure, afraid of thin air that disappears us before rapture come, air owned by Jesus and white people, air transformed by privilege that muffles drumming, kufis, lamert, and Black mamas can be removed when convenient by sleight of hand and racecraft. 4, ancestral closet hold our story. We on top left, back shelf. No one ever searches there. We will never feel human there, worthy of touch or remembrance. 5, Carolina blue black tobacco stained wisdom dressed in sacred cotton hand-me-downs. Mama Zabe's necklace, juju pouch of gathered weeds kept you funky for a week and healed. Grandma Macy's moan language our presence here, cause sometimes words won't do. Whole truth told in minor key that rest between beats because we never got to rest, that is. Cause this machine is always hungry for new niggas that produce new capital from cotton to prisons. DNA is a survivor of boat rides and domestic terror racism of the disappeared. So remember to check your kitchen. Mother can show up unannounced in any century at any time in the year of our Lord, because some closets cannot be locked, not even by Jesus.
Say less. You're a woman. And I am man. And only half a human. Without you, I miss you. I miss you as heaven did Christ when he came in human form. As a mother, momentarily embracing stillborn, torn from her arms, unalive, left behind locked heart and latched door. Shuddering behind shutters, crying, cluttered in closets, dying, sheltered by misunderstanding. Lying on a suede couch, cornering the fallacy of contentment. I must admit, before you, there was life, but the breath was absent. And oxygen refused to be contained, inhaled, or seized in this carbon-debased being you left behind. A quandary of silence, tear-filled, centered with self-loathe destitute, plaguing me with an army of lost earring backs, soldiering on my bedroom floor, camouflaged as landmines, cursing every step, forcing me to Apache walk for a simple glass of water. You are thirst unquenched. You are a woman and I am man, and I miss the way the bath in your body works. The scent of juniper breeze squeezed, lathered at the valley of your palm, polished on the canal of your spine, finger pressed gently at the cusp of your behind, unalive, left behind. A fragrance, spindle weave from the small of your back, slipping heel on banana peel, falling in love, failing to comprehend, teetering on the hinge of sanity, wandering hopeless romantically. I miss the sun seen through the island paradise in your iris, where palm trees shade insecurities and the ocean's edge blankets our footsteps. For hours I stare while the stains the remains of my heart from you. The nights you enjoyed our dinner more than my company. And we spoke using the voice of a silent movie, having a mime paradigm, our quiet. I miss making love so long that love starts making us. I miss the feather soft, delicate, detailed sponge of your kiss, the eclipse of euphoria embedded by the stroke of your tongue, embalming my lips with pleasantries. Lapsing time with every dose, causing a lifetime filled with watermelon Jolly Ranchers, the jokes from Bazooka Joe, Batman and Tarantino, chai lattes and a lot of hugs, warm smiles over cold stones. The direct opposite of alone, our coupled conversation, the sensation of downright loving you now. These are the things I miss most. So when I say I miss you as heaven did Christ when he came in human form, don't scorn me for blasphemy. Just love me for me. Thanks, y'all.
I've only done this poem once before. Ravina said it was dope, so that's good enough for me. An original thought is a dangerous thing. A fingerless glove on a black fist, asking why instead of nodding yes, creating your own off-ramp on the road less traveled. What if we vetted instead of just vented, treated freedom of speech as a privilege, not a pastime, and turned just enough wine back into water so you can properly swallow the red and the blue pill? What if we make climbing down the corporate ladder, viewing stocks and bonds like stockades and bondage, crypto as a crypt, and why can't he who dies with the least amount of toys be the winner? Why can't we reinvent the wheel? Squeeze blood from a stone if it's willing? And what's the purpose of having all this cake if you can indeed eat it too? With a glass of milk, or almond milk, or Merlot, or a shot of whiskey, or just another damn piece of cake. Why can't we be in a rush to sit still? Why aren't Reiki and sound baths covered by my insurance? Why isn't meditation included in every K through 12 curriculum? And why aren't rose quartz and Palo Santo in every first aid kit? Post-COVID, what if we normalize group hugs? Flash mobs of people on street corners with arms open wide, jacked from uplifting spirits. What if we worked in as much as we work out? Empathy on swole, sincerity dripping from our brows, compassion bulging in our veins. What if you never, ever had to make your bed? Why? Because that's our safe place. And the world kind of sucks right now, you know? What if racism was actually about the speed of your feet and not the long division in your skin? We've had to show that work for far too long. And what if, for the first time in your life, when you searched the clouds for God's face, you saw a mirror? And after bowing your head in prayer, asking, no begging, what is it all for? You look back up at that sky and you finally saw the answer.
All right, give it up for Naila Porter. Give it up for philosophy, and give it up for Derek Brown. Woo! The long division in your skin. Woo! Wow. Wow. And philosophy definitely grinded on this microphone. I was like, okay. Okay. All right, next three poets coming up to the mic. We got Juan, we got Andrea, and we got Sammy. Give it up for those three poets coming up to the microphone.
So I wrote a children's story today in the morning in the class. It's called Juni the Rabbit. Juni the Rabbit hops to the field of green. The sun casts a light on the surface, but also casts a light on the shadows beyond the green. His mother tells him, be careful out there. It looks peaceful and nice, but there's also humans and snakes and hawks and mini bears known as dogs ready to strike. Listen to your surroundings. Listen to your heart. If you feel there's something wrong, then you must run. Juni meets up with his friends, Peter and Jack. They hop around the nice green field. Jack, ever so daring, wanted to go up the hill. Come on, he said. It'll be fun. It will be closer to the sky. I don't know, Juni said. Something tells me it's not right. It doesn't feel right. Don't be a scary cat. Peter said as Jack laughs. They both went up the hill, leaving Juni behind. Juni felt sad and alone. I think I should go home. He turned and saw a hawk flying by. He hid between the long grass and saw the hawk flying over him and headed towards that hill. Juni shouted at his friends about the hawk, but it's too late. The hawk dove and took Peter off that hill. Juni was horrified, and he hopped away as fast as he can. He stumbles and hears a hissing sound. Why so scared? Let's be friends. Juni sees the snake, a big snake. He asked the snake, why would a big snake like you want to be friends with a small rabbit like me? Let's play a game. I wrap myself around you and see if you can escape. If you win, we can play tomorrow again. If you lose, then I win. No need to worry. I am nice. Juni Heart tells him to run, and he did, as fast as he could. He lost sight of it as where he's going. He stopped and listened to his surroundings. In front of him, he sees a small human. Juni felt relieved and yet curious. But the small human raised his finger and pointed at Juni. And then a large human appeared with a long silver stick. Juni's gasped. Silver stick booms, he thought. He heard about them from his father. If you see a silver stick boom, you must run and hide. And so he ran. But he didn't hear a boom. Instead, he heard a barky sound. Oh no, the mini bears. Juni hears the barking sound growing louder behind him. It's getting closer. He zigzags around the field and hoping the dog would get tired, but that dog was relentless. I want to go home. I want to go home. He thought of that many times. But then he sees a hollow log. It's too small for the dog to go inside, but perfect for Juni to take cover. So he did. Despite his current safety, the dog was determined to get Juni. He stuck his whole head inside the log, using it to lift the log with his whole body. Juni realized this. He's almost paralyzed. He almost became paralyzed with fear, but he remembered his mom told him that their noses is their weakness. Juni, with all his small rabbit might, kicked the dog's nose. The dog yelped, stuck his head out, shaking his head continuously in confusion. Now's my chance. Juni hopped away. He looked back. Nobody was after him anymore. He got home, told his mom about his great escape. But he still felt bad about being called the scary cat. Well, his mom said, they could call you anything you want. But if you didn't listen to me, then you wouldn't see me again. The good part is you live to see another day. The best part is you live to eat my vegetable soup that I made for you today. Thank you.
Thank you. This song is called Vacant Heart.
And I think I performed it at a virtual open mic, but I've never performed it live. So, okay. Vacant heart, don't fill me up with trash. I got a belly and I'm working on my ass, on my ass. Love you forever, but now I've got to go. Love you forever, but now I've got to go. You use me, abuse me. Did you choose me when there was somebody else? Got to, no more friends. Ooh, ooh. You use me, abuse me. Did you choose me when there was somebody else?
Titled Tired. I'm so tired of being tired. When will my people get to rest? Got a huge knot in my throat and on my chest. All these killings got me feeling an emotional distress. How can I even try to decompress during unprecedented times of civil unrest? Paranoia got me thinking, who the hell might be next? I hold my baby in my arms and I see the future in her eyes. I'll have succeeded as a father if I taught her how to see straight through the evil eyes. For now, I'll grab her tiny hand and I clench it into a raised fist. My hope is to teach my daughters to be resilient like templos in Teotihuacan, colorful and vibrant like murals on Soto and Chavez, different and complex like tres puntos tatted underneath the side of the eye, intelligent like tamaleras feeding our construction workforce at 5 in the morning next to gas stations where laborers congregate, poetic like Republic of East LA short stories, wise like medicine women disguised as abuelitas. I hope I can teach them to invoke the power and love of their ancestors like mi nana Julia, who stood only at about 4 foot something, se fue echando escobazos casi hasta el último día because she towered with strength and powered through obstacles which must have been designed to break down the most toughest of men. I'm so tired of being tired. It's time we get free. Gracias, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Andrea. And thank you, Sammy. All right. These next three poets we got coming up to the mic. Juan was in the 44 class this morning. I had the chance to teach personification by way of children's book. So he wrote a children's book today. Congratulations, Juan. And this next poet was in class with us this morning also. Give it up for Tanya. And then we're going to hear from Maisha and then Woodrow Bailey. All right.
This poem is not for anyone in this room. It's for fake people. You remind me of a metaphor. You're just like, but just ain't. He fake. You're just like, but just ain't. And is watercolor really paint? You act like this, but you're really that. You're a picture in a frame, wanna be shiny, but actually matte. A real wannabe, a true simile. You describe yourself one way, but actually, every dog has his day, and even you know that. Your pretentious pretending makes your sharp notes so flat. Like a metaphor, you're someone I can't take literally. Like the moon bowed down and the dog went to sea. Your life is a puzzle with chaos and confusion. You're a cold sore. You're a slow drip, a malignant contusion. You're a perpetrator of the fraud. You're a counterfeit check. Pull yourself together. Your life is a wreck. You remind me of a metaphor with a heart made of stone, just like, but just ain't. Please leave me alone.
Everyone. When Hiram called me, when you get off work, you forget to put on your suit, and this I'm my joy here. I said, Maisha, that's funny. Okay, here we go. This piece is called My Pen. My pen be life changer, thought rearranger. My pen be money saved on therapy. My pen be love when I'm lonely. My pen be the liberator of the messed up thoughts in my head that I get sometimes like I wish I were dead. When it's dark and I can't sleep, my pen is what helps turn the voices off. My pen calms my storm. My pen is my joy. Well, my pen birthed my joy. See, my pen is dope. My pen bleeds for me so I won't want to bleed. My pen helps me shout until all this anxiety's out. My pen was my open door to freedom when I was a kid and didn't know. My pen is best friend that doesn't judge or get tired of hearing it. My pen be truth teller. My pen be healer. My pen be hope. And that's that piece. Thank you. Um, this is called Summer. I need some winter to quench the thirst as the rain falls down my cheek, to camouflage the tears as I cry over over the thought of another one of us that lay slain. Mike Brown, Sandra Brand, Breonna Taylor. I feel the sun burning my back as I try to make it through another day like this. This summer heat is leaving my life dry and without relief, wanting still to believe in better days, praying for joy and happiness and a beautiful spot to rest my feet and some good food to eat because I'm tired, wanting still to believe in better days. Without love nowhere. They still hate us, want to kill us. George Floyd, Vallejo Castillo, Dante Wright. They still want us gone. This heat of living in this black has been burning us far too long. And that's that piece. Thank you.
Those who have no voice or no choice, because I speak for a prose in their environment. My anger
at the sight of this oppression is centuries old. My eyes see homelessness, hunger, and pain. My anger boils at every lie that belches out. My eyes see frustration, chaos, and confusion. My anger boils so some people can take advantage. My eyes see opportunities that melt away systematically. My anger boils at these senseless shootings. My eyes see families and communities destroyed. My anger boils towards those who's supposed to serve. My eyes see politicians stealing this society blind. My anger boils because no matter what I do, it's never enough. My eyes see those with no voice or no choice suffer. My eyes boil over and they can't see carelessness. Hold on to this teaspoon of freedom that stains. Uphold the notion of shooting hope in your veins. Hold on to this cope of democracy to taste. Uphold as he stares at the land of the free to freebase. Hold on to this cord of trust. Uphold the quality of white lines of mistrust. Hold on to this measure of sanity. Uphold this treasure that yields insanity. Hold on to this fork of oppression. Uphold the trauma that divides with a suggestion. Hold on to this pint of alcohol to forget. Uphold the pretense of a gallon of regret. Hold on to uphold decisions. Thank you.
Thank you to those three poets who just hit the mic. We got one more poet left that we're going to hear tonight. And earlier we were celebrating the employees of CLI. And one thing that we're so excited about is we created a booking internship with World Stage Press. And Lizbeth decided to fill that position, and she's been helping not only to get performances, but paid opportunities for the poets on World Stage Press. And so I very much appreciate the work that she's doing so far. She's only been with us for about like 3 weeks. Yeah, and she's doing a fantastic job. So please put your hands together for Elizabeth Koyman coming up to the mic.
Changed like the several times, so still not decided. Yes, yes, whatever it comes. I responded to Juan's short story with a short story that I wrote in Hiram's class last year. I'm gonna trip over this, so I'm gonna read around here. You hear me in the back? Then okay. The hen and the chick. When the tiny feet hatch the egg, the hen faces herself, clucking, 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 waiting for the chick to be born. The hen covers her chipping, fluffy, tender yellow chick under her wings and takes the little bird out for the first walk. She strolls proudly in front of the cacaruling rooster and the other clucking hens, the quacking ducks, the oinking pigs, and even maying goats waiting casually for her chick to pull the fattest, juiciest, wriggling worm from the ground. But when the chipping, fluffy, tender yellow chick strays after a group of young roosters. The hen runs to her side, covers the young bird under her wing, ushers her back to the playground, and never loses sight of her baby again. She chaperones even when the hens talk to her about the roosters and his cacadoo-la-doos at the crack of dawn, and who is he cacadooling for lately? Clucking, clucking, the hens take out her baby to the park where the chipping, fluffy, tender yellow chick pecks on the discarded pewter platter and with plenty of dog food. The head smiles and daydreams of a future for her little hen. The older hens remark on the chick's homemaking skills. She'll soon be able to feed her young. They clag. Mama hen turns around her neck with a ruffle of feathers. She's learning to find food for herself, not for others. With one wing, she pushes the baby under the other wing and clucks her way out of the pecking ground. She wants to grow old and see her baby have chicks of her own, but the hen knows that chickens don't live longer. Mama hen wishes the chick to be happy chick and smiles at the thought while clucking. When dinner comes, as dinner time tends to do for chickens, the hen takes the chipping, fluffy, tender yellow chick early to the hen house. Mama covers her baby under her wings and tells her, when you grow up, you can run after the roosters. Just make sure you get the one that cacadoo-la-doos the loudest at the crack of dawn. But remember, you don't need a rooster to lay eggs. Then the hen sings, cozy and warm under her mama wings. The chick sleeps till the next day, just in time to be gone for dinner. But another one? Yeah, another one. Again, I'm gonna read you from my book, the last poem of the book. Before the last poem, I want to read something really, 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 really short. The experience you need, the experience you're having, loving without certainty of a tomorrow, without reciprocity, in the depths of this confinement, necessary experience in the never-ending task of becoming. The last poem of my book is called Rediscovering. In the beginning, it was I and a tiny he. When I met you, you and I became we with a tiny he. Then a tinier he came along and we were whole. Immigration unhinged to me at a cellular level. That passport with the Canadian London document is commemorating my entry into an Anglo reality transformed me. For a while, we were you and I and the two he's, with I pushing, cheering, supporting. We survived, thrived, we succeeded, with you and the he's winning the most, while I fell further behind from the we. With time, the passport disappears somewhere inside a kitchen drawer with the discarded objects of domesticity and broken promises of marriage, the symbol of my identity, lost citizenship of the land that witnessed my birth when I lived for 32 years of my life with that dream of my PhD in Latin American literature resting on my sheet beside my sexuality rendered dormant by a chemical straitjacket. Uprising from symptoms of abiding disappointments, I step away from the we to become. In my exodus, I took only the tools of survival, the broken golden shackle, now a museum piece inside a dark box, winning off the last cocktail, not knowing the entire arc of my story, aware, rediscovering. I away from the you so that I can become whole again. I found my old Venezuelan passport, held the contemporary history of my homeland, besieged, looted, raped, enslaved, forced to give up its original name, baptized in the language of agony, branded with cliché symbols, a new star horse looking left on a constitution fossilizing power in the hands of the same gang leader per secula secularum when pairs were already unique. I encounter a bizarre alternate reality where ghosts roam the empty corridors of apartment buildings. Mothers give birth to still dreams. In this becoming, I regain contact with my spirituality, tucked in the glossaries of resentment, forgiving my ailing and aging parents for their failure to love me, and the barbarians who strangle our people, pledging allegiance only to the commandment of love without fear of unwanted pregnancies or malas lenguas, a woman in ownership of her sexuality, learning to accept rejections, delivering herself in the daily bread, subjects and witnesses of her own story, rediscovering. Morena, loca, venezolana, writer, consciousness shifter, teacher, three nationalities pierce into my complex identity, but without an entry visa to my homeland. Joining the diaspora of descent from Guarenas, Guatires, Mucuchíes to Los Angeles, uprising for me and for you, motherland, Venezuela, together with the guerreros del teclado in our dance around the world. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. Can I read a poem real quick? Is that all right? All right. It's like last call right now. You know, like people are like, man, I'm trying to go home, but go ahead. I work for CLI too. So you know. That's right. Me and one of the CLI employees, Alex Petunia, we're writing a book together called Adventure Prompts. You know, sending people to different like naturistic or historic parts of LA, and then to use the history of that place, the nature that surrounds that place to write. And so the last place that I visited that we're planning on putting in the book is a place called Arlington Gardens, and it's up in Pasadena. And so while I was walking around there, I was listening to June Jordan, who's just incredible poet. And you know, those of us who have published books will know a little bit about this experience. So this is called I'm Everything You Need, after listening to June Jordan at Arlington Gardens. After her reading in the neighborhood coffee shop, barely sprinkled with people going in and out at the small table designated for her to sign books, halfway happy to be signing a book and halfway crying, she said to me, I'm so embarrassed because nobody came, but thank you for coming. And I said to her in the way that I say things, ain't I somebody? Ain't I exactly who you came for? Ain't I a human being with two open hands, two open brown ears, two bold and beautiful eyes waiting to take home what it took you 2 years to put together? Ain't I one more beautiful soul waiting patiently for you to change my life? Waiting diligently for you to say something that I will remember and repeat to my grandchildren when they come begging me for wisdom? Ain't I enough man for the beauty and patience of your starving ego? I know you probably wanted this place to be full, but I am full of light and love and energy and a hunger for great sentences. And aren't we a pair, you and I? You giving and I receiving, you pouring out and I taking in? Am I not the true evidence of this ancient idea people say, but don't really believe when they say that if you can reach one person, change one life, brighten one person's day, I have done my job? Am I not your job today? This coffee shop could probably seat maybe 40. And if you did your duty, if you filled my belly with enough paragraphs for me to chew on for generations, then this work will endure. And dig this, if I have 6 children, and those children have 6 children, and those children have 3 children and more, maybe your book will stay on the shelf and get passed around at family barbecues and weddings and funerals. And haven't you reached that goal? Haven't you touched enough people? You should rejoice in the single seat. Clap and shout and dance for the gas I paid and the parking I paid and the clothes I ironed and chose to come to hear you. And if God is in us all, didn't God show up to your book reading? Aren't you reading poems to God? All right. All right. Thank you all for a great night of poetry. Thank you for pages on stages. Thank you, people in Zoom land. Thank you, all the poets who touched the mic tonight. Thank you. Have a good night. Appreciate you all. Thank you to all the CLI employees, work study students, interns, volunteers, everybody contributing to this work that we're doing together. You know, us doing this work is a dream come true. And I'm thankful for each one of you. All right. All right. Thank you for coming. Have a good night. Help us put some of these chairs away. All right. Bye.
Thanks, Tyra.